When you stop contacting a woman, it changes the entire dynamic. Most men assume that silence will simply make her forget, move on, or stop caring. But that's not how female psychology works. In fact, when you go quiet, something powerful begins to happen in her mind. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is one of the key factors that keeps attraction alive. Today, we're breaking down a controversial but very real truth about women. The moment you pull away, her mind reacts in ways that might surprise you. This is important because many men misunderstand the process. They believe that constant texting, checking in, or always being available makes a woman feel secure and keeps her interested. In reality, too much chasing suffocates attraction. When you stop contacting her, the dynamic truly shifts. This isn't about playing childish games. It's about understanding how women think and how your actions can either build or destroy attraction. Women are emotional beings, and silence often presses the right psychological buttons. When you step back, she starts to question things. She wonders if you've lost interest, if you found someone else, or if she did something to push you away. The more these questions grow, the stronger her curiosity, and sometimes even her desire becomes. Here's the controversial part. Sometimes a woman won't notice your silence immediately. She may act cold, distant, or pretend she doesn't care. But beneath the surface, she is processing your absence. Once she realizes you are no longer giving her the attention she once had on demand, her behavior begins to shift. That's when her true feelings emerge, revealing whether she is genuinely interested in you or if she only enjoyed the validation. By the end of this discussion, you'll not only understand what happens in a woman's mind when you stop contacting her, but you'll also know how to handle her reactions in a way that keeps you in control. The shock of silence. Why women notice. Instantly, when you stop contacting a woman, the very first thing she feels is disruption. Most men don't realize how quickly a woman becomes accustomed to their presence, even if she doesn't openly show it. Whether it's your texts, calls, or the small check-ins throughout the day, she adapts to the rhythm. It's like background music, something she doesn't consciously notice until it suddenly stops. That's when silence becomes loud. Here's what makes this powerful. Women are naturally tuned into patterns. They notice changes, even subtle ones. When you pull back and stop reaching out, it instantly grabs her attention because her mind registers that something she casually relied on is no longer there. Think of it like removing a chair she always leaned on. At first, she might shrug, but the moment she goes to lean and it's gone, she feels the absence deeply. This shock of silence isn't about her missing your words. It's about what those words represented. They reassured her that she had access to you, that you were available, that you were interested. When that access disappears, her mind goes into overdrive. Why isn't he texting? Did he lose interest? Did he find someone else? Did I do something wrong? These questions stir emotions, and that's why women notice almost immediately when a man pulls away. Most men underestimate this reaction because they assume women are always in control, especially if she seemed distant or distracted before. But here's the twist. Even the most confident woman feels a jolt when expected communication suddenly vanishes. It interrupts her sense of comfort. Human psychology, and especially female psychology, reacts strongly to broken patterns. Now, don't get this twisted. It's not always about love or deep attachment right away. Sometimes it's about ego. A woman might not be fully invested yet, but the fact that you gave her consistent attention created a sense of security. When that stops, it challenges her importance in your life. Nobody likes to feel replaced or unimportant, and silence can trigger that fear almost instantly. That's why silence is powerful. It communicates without words. It makes her feel your absence in a way speaking never could. And the irony is, the more she took your attention for granted, the more she'll notice when it's no longer there. The first reaction you spark when you stop contacting her is shock, sometimes subtle, sometimes strong, but always noticeable. And once that shock sets in, it plants the seed for everything else she's about to feel in the days that follow. How uncertainty fuels her curiosity. After the initial shock of your silence, something even more powerful begins to take root. Uncertainty. And let me tell you this, uncertainty is one of the most effective forces in female psychology. A woman's mind doesn't sit still when she doesn't have answers. Instead, it races, imagines, and creates stories to fill the gaps. Once her thoughts start spinning, curiosity takes over. Here's why. When you were texting or calling regularly, she knew exactly where she stood with you. You were available, predictable, and easy to access. That predictability might have comforted her, but it also gave her a sense of control. She didn't have to wonder about you because you were always there. But when you go silent, you take that certainty away. Suddenly, she's no longer sure if she still has a grip on your attention. That lack of control is what fuels curiosity. Women are natural emotional detectives. When something feels off, they don't just shrug it away. They start observing, replaying past conversations, and questioning themselves. Did he get tired? Of me? Is he testing me? Did I say something wrong? Is he with someone else? This internal investigation is her attempt to regain clarity. But here's the catch. Your silence provides no answers, and the absence of answers keeps her hooked. This is where most men go wrong. They think reaching out, explaining themselves, or offering constant reassurance will build attraction. But reassurance kills curiosity. Certainty makes her feel safe, yes, but it doesn't make her intrigued. What keeps her invested is the not knowing, the space where her imagination has to work over time. That's where attraction deepens. Think about this. People naturally value what's scarce. When she doesn't hear from you, your attention suddenly becomes scarce. And the less of it she gets, the more she begins to wonder about its value. She may even compare the silence to the attention you once gave her, realizing how much she actually enjoyed having you present, even if she never admitted it before. Uncertainty also stirs a mix of emotions in her. Sometimes it's mild frustration. Other times it's longing. At moments she may even feel defensive or angry. But here's the paradox. All of those emotions, whether positive or negative, keep her tied to you. Her thoughts remain centered around your absence. Even frustration deepens her investment because it means she's still emotionally engaged with you. Put simply, when she's sure of you, her emotions calm down and she relaxes. But when she's not sure, her emotions fire up and she becomes hyper-aware of you. She checks her phone more often. She rereads old messages. She notices things she once ignored. In other words, your silence forces her to pay closer attention. Now, does this mean you should play games or manipulate her with silence? 3. Why silence stings. More than words, here's something you might not realize. Silence often cuts deeper than anything you could ever say. Words can be explained away, argued against, or even ignored. But silence leaves no room for defense. It forces a woman to sit with her own thoughts, her doubts, and her emotions, and that's far more powerful than any speech you could give. Think about it. When you argue, explain yourself, or chase her with reassurance, she gains clarity. Even if she doesn't like what she hears, she still knows where you stand. But when you say nothing, she's left in the dark. That's where the sting lies, in the not knowing, the unanswered questions, and the tension that builds in the absence of your words. Women are emotional beings, and emotions thrive on meaning. When you remain silent, she has no choice but to give that silence meaning. Because the female mind tends to overanalyze, she often fills the silence with her own insecurities. Why hasn't he called? Is he losing interest? Did he move on? Did I push him away? Every unanswered question becomes a small cut to her ego and pride. But here's the twist. Your silence doesn't just sting her, it magnifies your presence. The less you say, the louder your absence becomes. She feels it in the moments when she would normally expect to hear from you. She notices it in the spaces where your attention once filled her world. The silence echoes in her mind, following her like a shadow. This is where silence becomes truly powerful. It doesn't just sting her emotionally, it stings her psychologically. Words might make her angry, but silence makes her reflective. She replays past conversations, questions her own behavior, and doubts the control she thought she had over you. To her, silence isn't just a pause, it's a message. A message that you don't need to explain yourself, that you're not desperate for her attention, and that you're strong enough to withhold what most men can't. That's why silence often leaves a deeper impact than any argument ever could. Arguments can make her feel powerful because she knows she can pull emotions out of you. But silence makes her feel powerless because she can't predict it, control it, or fully understand it. And that's where attraction begins to rebuild. So, never underestimate the weight of silence. It's not weakness, it's strength, it's not avoidance, it's strategy. Silence works because it shifts the balance of power. Instead of you chasing her, she's left chasing answers. And the sting of your silence lingers far longer than the sound of any words you could say. The ego shock of being ignored when a man goes silent. It doesn't just sting a woman emotionally, it hits her ego like a punch she never saw coming. You have to understand this. Most women are used to being noticed, validated, and reassured. Whether it's from men online, in person, or from you when things were good, attention is something she expects. So when you break that pattern by ignoring her, it delivers a shock to her ego that she can't easily brush off. Here's the truth about female psychology. Attention is currency. It reassures her that she's still desirable, still in control, and still important. When you pull back and stop feeding her with attention, it creates an emptiness she feels immediately. And it's not just about missing you. It's about what your silence says to her self-image. Suddenly, she's no longer the center of your world. Suddenly, she doesn't have the same power over you. That's where the ego bruise cuts deepest. At first, she may try to play it cool. She might tell herself, "I don't care, I don't need him," or "He'll come around." But as days pass and your silence remains firm, the cracks in her ego begin to show. She starts checking her phone more often. She replays your last conversations, wondering if she said something wrong. She might even post things online just to provoke a reaction from you. All of this is her attempt to regain the validation your silence has taken away. What makes being ignored so powerful is that it flips the script. Women are used to being pursued, to men responding instantly, fixing problems, or proving their worth. But when you don't give her that reaction, she suddenly feels what most men usually feel on the other side: uncertainty, insecurity, and doubt. That ego shock is something she isn't prepared for, and it forces her to rethink everything. She thought she knew about the dynamic between you. Now, don't confuse this with cruelty or revenge. Ignoring a woman isn't about being cold for the sake of it. It's about discipline. It's about holding your frame and refusing to reward behavior that doesn't deserve your energy. Silence forces her to face her own emotions without you stepping in to fix them. And ironically, that's what makes her start chasing again. Here's the deeper layer. When a woman experiences that ego shock, it plants a seed of curiosity. She starts asking herself, why isn't he reacting like other men? Why isn't he chasing me? Has he found someone else, or is he really strong enough to walk away from me? These questions swirl in her mind, and instead of feeling like she's in control, she begins to feel like she's losing it. And the moment she senses she's losing control over you, attraction can reignite. Why? Because a man who isn't dependent on her validation is unpredictable, and unpredictability in the female mind creates both tension and desire. Ignoring her bruises her ego, but it also wakes her up. It reminds her that you are not hers to command. And when she feels that shift, it forces her to see you in a completely different light. 5. When attraction feels like a risk. Here's something most men don't realize. When you pull away or go silent, a woman doesn't just miss your presence. She begins to associate attraction with risk. And this is where things get interesting. Attraction feels safe when it's predictable and constantly fed. But when silence enters the picture, it flips that comfort upside down. Suddenly, being attracted to you comes with the possibility of loss. Think about it. When a woman feels like she has you, she relaxes. She knows you'll answer her texts. She knows you'll be there. She knows she can always get your attention when she wants it. There's no risk because she feels in control. But when you stop giving her that certainty, attraction becomes dangerous in her mind. Why? Because now desiring you means she has to risk the possibility that you might not feel the same anymore. That fear of loss creeps in, and it changes everything. Internally, She starts fighting with herself. One part of her says, "Don't chase him, don't let him think he has power." The other side whispers, "But what if he's slipping away? What if I lose him for good?" That tug of war is what makes silence so powerful. It doesn't just make her miss you, it makes her realize that being with you isn't guaranteed. Here's the truth. Attraction without risk is weak. When a woman feels overly safe and certain about you, she begins to take you for granted. But when you introduce risk into the dynamic, she's forced to value you differently. People only treasure what they might lose. Your silence reminds her that she doesn't fully have you, and that reminder fuels stronger attraction. But here's where many men go wrong. They think pulling away means cutting her off completely and forever. That's not the point. The point is to let her sit in the uncertainty, to feel the weight of not having you at her fingertips. It's not punishment, it's a reset. It rebalances attraction, so it no longer feels one-sided. When she feels that risk, she begins to invest again. She may initiate conversations, test the waters with subtle texts, or show up in ways she didn't before. All of this is her way of saying, "I still want you, but I'm afraid you might not want me back." That fear of loss reignites her drive to pursue. So remember this: your silence transforms attraction from something casual into something valuable. It reminds her that having you isn't automatic. It comes with risk. And when attraction carries risk, it becomes something she simply cannot ignore. The hidden test behind her distance: when a woman pulls away, most men panic. They immediately assume, "She's losing interest, she's done with me." But here's the truth. Many times her distance isn't about ending things, it's a test, a hidden test to see what kind of man you really are when she steps back. Women don't test men they feel nothing for, they test when there's attraction. Her distance is often her way of asking, "Are you strong enough to hold your frame without me feeding your ego?" She may not be consciously aware of it, but she's watching your reaction closely. And here's the catch: how you respond will either kill the attraction or amplify it. If you chase her the moment she pulls back, you fail the test. You prove that her approval has power over you. You show her that her silence, her absence, her withdrawal can control your emotions. Once she sees she can destabilize you, she loses respect. And respect is tied directly to attraction. If she can shake your confidence easily, she won't view you as a man she can rely on. But if you stay calm, if you remain centered, grounded, and unfazed by her distance, that's when she realizes she can't break you. And that's attractive on a deep, primal level, because in that moment, you've proven that your value doesn't depend on her energy. You can hold your own. Think of it this way: women want to know if you're the type of man who collapses under pressure or stands tall no matter what. Her silence, her coldness, her sudden withdrawal, they're like stress tests for your masculinity. She's not doing it to be cruel, even if it feels that way. She's doing it because women instinctively want to know if the man they're drawn to is strong enough to lead, steady enough to endure pressure, and resilient enough not to crumble when tested. This is why distance is such a powerful filter. Most men can be charming when things are easy. Most men can be confident when she's giving them attention, but very few can remain composed when she withdraws. That's why this hidden test separates boys from men. So what's the right response? When she pulls away, it's not anger, it's not begging, and it's not chasing. The right response is quiet strength. You don't punish her with silence, but you also don't collapse into desperation. You keep living your life, you stay consistent in who you are, and you let her feel the space she created. Because if she truly cares, she'll come back. And when she does, she'll return with more respect than before, because you passed her test. The next time a woman grows distant, remember this: it's not always rejection. Often it's a test, and your job isn't to convince her of your worth with words, it's to demonstrate it with composure. Because in her mind, the man who doesn't panic when she pulls away is the man who truly has options, and that's the man she won't want to lose. 7. What men must do. When she pulls away, when a woman pulls away, most men make the exact mistake that kills attraction instantly. They start chasing. They blow up her phone, ask what's wrong, demand answers, or try to win her back with gifts. And over-the-top affection. But here's the truth. The more you chase a woman who's pulling away, the faster she runs. Why? Because you're proving to her that her distance has complete control over your emotions. You've handed her the power, and women don't stay attracted to men they can easily control. So what should you do instead? The answer is simple, but not easy. You must avoid doing anything that communicates weakness. That doesn't mean ignoring her completely or being cold on purpose. It means holding your frame and staying centered, no matter how she acts. A man with confidence and options doesn't beg someone to stay. He doesn't panic when a woman withdraws. He trusts his presence is valuable, and if she wants to walk away, that's her choice. The first step is emotional control. Don't text her 10 times in a row. Don't ask, "Are you mad at me?" And don't start over-explaining yourself. Instead, match her energy. If she pulls back, you naturally give her space. If she goes quiet, you don't force conversation. By doing this, you communicate strength. You're showing her that you don't need her constant validation to feel secure in yourself. The second step is to stay focused on your life. Keep training, working, building, socializing, and improving. When she sees that her pulling away doesn't stop your momentum, she realizes you're not dependent on her for happiness. Paradoxically, that makes her want to come back, because women are drawn to men who live full, driven lives with or without them. Third, let her feel the consequences of her distance. If she pulls back, don't rush to close the gap for her. If she ignores your calls, don't double down with more. Space creates tension, and tension builds attraction. Let her wonder what you're doing. Let her feel your absence. That's when she starts thinking, "Did I just lose him?" And that fear of loss triggers her to re-engage. Finally, when she does come back, you don't punish her, but you also don't roll out a red carpet. You remain calm, warm, and steady as if nothing happened. That's the ultimate power move, because it shows you're unshakable. Her pulling away didn't break your confidence, it didn't lower your value, and it didn't change your frame. That's exactly what keeps her attraction alive. Remember this, when she pulls away, your job isn't to chase her. Your job is to remain grounded. Keep building yourself and let her feel the difference between your presence and your absence. Because the man who doesn't panic when she withdraws is the man she respects, desires, and ultimately chooses. Attraction with women is rarely straightforward. It's layered, emotional, and deeply tied to how secure you are in yourself as a man. When she pulls away, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's her testing your strength. Sometimes it's her protecting her emotions. And sometimes it's her fear of being vulnerable. But here's the key. No matter the reason, your reaction determines the outcome. Most men lose their frame in these moments. They panic, chase, or overinvest, but the men who stand out, the ones women respect, miss, and stay drawn to, are the ones who remain steady. They understand that space doesn't mean the game is over. They match her energy, remain calm, and keep living a full life that doesn't revolve around her approval. That kind of self-control is rare, and it's magnetic. Think about it this way. Attraction thrives on tension, mystery, and respect. If you remove those by constantly chasing her when she distances herself, you kill the very attraction you're trying to save. But if you hold your frame, let her feel your absence, and keep moving forward with purpose, you remind her why she was drawn to you in the first place. At the end of the day, women don't want men they can easily control or manipulate. They want men who remain strong, centered, and unshaken, even when things get complicated. So when she pulls away, don't react with fear. Respond with calm strength. That's how you keep her attraction alive, and that's how you win.